cut my toxic parents off after they betrayed me for my golden child brother, but I just discovered my girlfriend has been secretly spying on me for them the whole time. Some backstory. I'm a 28-year-old male who recently quit my job in real estate to start my own business. It has always been a dream of mine to build something of my own, and I believe now is the right time to work toward achieving it. A couple of months ago, I resigned and decided to dedicate all my energy to this venture. I had enough savings set aside and had my mind made up. About half a year ago, I asked my parents to become investors in my company because I could really use their help and expertise. My dad comes from a business family and still manages their car dealership along with his brother. My mom is their accountant, so I believed I could succeed with her assistance. I discussed this with them at a family dinner where my younger brother was also present, and I think that was my biggest mistake. He's 25 now and has been working in sales for a couple of years, always very ambitious. A few weeks later, my brother informed us that he was also looking to start his own business and wanted our parents to invest in it. I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He had even quit his job and submitted his notice because he was serious about this and claimed that I had inspired him to take action. I was kind of annoyed but tried not to let it bother me because I didn't think his decision would affect me in any way, and I was wronged. About 2 weeks after my brother's announcement, during another family dinner, my parents told me they could only invest in one of us. If they had to pick someone to bet on, it would be my brother. Funnily enough, they also mentioned that he wanted to start working in the real estate business like me, even though he had no knowledge of that field and had never expressed any interest in learning about it before I announced my plans. I was very upset when my parents told me they wouldn't invest in my business and would rather support my brother instead. I didn't say anything to them for a while, just trying to process the bad news. When my brother decided to console me, his approach turned out to be pretty condescending. He told me I didn't need to worry and that if I wanted, I could join him, even though it wouldn't be an equal partnership. He just wanted me to have something at the very least. I thought that was a horrible thing to say, especially when I was trying to come to terms with the fact that my parents favored my brother over me. I had always known this deep down, but it hurt to realize it all over again, and to confirm that what I believed was true. After what my brother said, I lost my cool and got into a really nasty fight with him. I accused him of trying to steal my ideas because he had none of his own. I called him a copycat and told him to go find a personality that didn't revolve around me. I brought up a couple of incidents from the past when we were in school, where he would constantly try to do everything I did and attempt to beat me at my own game, but would consistently fail. I told him that's what would happen to him this time as well, so he needed to be prepared for it. My brother also got mad, and rightfully so. He told me it wasn't his fault our parents preferred him over me because it was evident why they favored him. He was just better. This was kind of petty and immature. Our parents tried to break up our fight by insisting they loved both of us equally, but they just believed my brother had more business acumen compared to me. They even suggested I join him, as if I actually would. My brother went to business school, but I had real-world experience as a real estate agent and knew what I was doing. He didn't have any of the experience I did and didn't know what he was talking about, so I couldn't figure out why my parents would assume he would be better at this than me without even giving me a chance. The only possible explanation was that they had a favorite, and it was very obvious to me that they did, but it wasn't me. My brother was the golden child, and there was no running away from it anymore. After that day, I decided I was going to have no contact with my family because it was just very insulting to be treated that way, like I was an idiot up to no good. It's been 6 months, and I haven't spoken to them. My parents tried to reach out a couple of times after I left that day, but when I didn't reply, they stopped trying. After a few weeks, I haven't attended any family events in the past couple of months either, and I've kept to myself even during the holidays because I don't want to run into them anywhere since I know it'll just be really awkward for all of us. It's best to just avoid all of it. I haven't been in touch with them in any capacity, and I actually prefer it that way. However, about 2 weeks ago, I found out something that really shocked me. My longtime girlfriend of almost 3 years and I were taking a trip for the weekend. It was supposed to be a short romantic getaway where I was going to propose to her. She decided to take a shower a couple of hours after we reached the place, and while she was in there, I wanted to charge my phone but couldn't find mine. I figured I had probably just left it at home, so I decided to use hers instead. Her phone was on charge, so when I grabbed it, I noticed she had received several texts from my dad, whose contact she had saved by name. It was unusual because I couldn't imagine any conversations she would need to have with my parents, especially since I'd gone no contact with them. Even though we have a strict no-snooping policy, I broke it for just that once, and I am so glad that I did. I had to guess her password because she had changed it and I didn't know the correct one anymore, but thankfully, I figured it out on the second try. It was her sister's birthday, and they're pretty close-knit. Then I went through the texts and realized they had been speaking terms for several months now. I realized that most of the things she was sending were pictures of my business plan, a list of investors, locations I wanted to set up, and several other business-related documents that were confidential. My girlfriend was aware of it. I usually work out of our living room, and she had easy access to those documents, so I wasn't surprised she had been able to get her hands on them. But I was shocked to my core that she was sending these things to the last people I would want. I knew for a fact that my father would 100% use this against me to help my brother get ahead of me. I also figured out why my girlfriend was selling me out. After everything she sent him, my dad would specify a certain amount of money and inform her that it had been sent, and she would confirm she had received it. So she was selling me out in the literal sense of the phrase. I was disgusted when I realized what was going on because she was actually spying on me for my parents in exchange for money. It wasn't just pictures of documents and paperwork integral to the business I was setting up. She would also tell them other things about me, like who from the family I met with, what I told my relatives about them, and worst of all, she would even badmouth me whenever I talked badly about them or my brother even to her, and she would get paid for all of it. For context, my girlfriend is a freelance writer. She used to have a stable job but quit and decided to strike out on her own a couple of months after we started dating because I had told her I would support her until she could support herself, and that hadn't happened yet. So, I was still covering rent for her as she lived with me. I couldn't understand why she needed the money so desperately that she was willing to sell me out and sabotage our relationship. I never asked her to contribute to any expenses and just wordlessly kept working and paying for everything while she tried to save whatever little she earned herself. I had never made her feel bad about it. She never borrowed money from me for personal expenses, which was great. But that's just about how independent she was, and I would say I had a huge role to play in her having a home and food to eat every day. I'm not even bragging about it, it's just a fact. So, her going out of her way to screw me over for some extra cash was pretty much insane and straight out of a badly made film or something. I was extremely disturbed when I saw that, and within a split second, I made up my mind that I was going to leave immediately. I hadn't unpacked any of my bags yet, so I grabbed all my stuff and made my way to the parking lot of the hotel as quickly as I could. Once everything was in the car, I started driving back home. I didn't stop for a break or check my phone until I had put considerable distance between me and the hotel. After almost 2 hours of driving, I stopped at a gas station because I was feeling nauseated and needed a can of soda. It was then that I finally checked my phone and saw about 10 missed calls and way too many texts from my girlfriend. She was panicking about where I was and kept asking if something was wrong. She said she was really worried and didn't know what was wrong, but if I was going through something, I needed to come back and talk to her so we could sort it all out. I guess she hadn't realized I knew about her spying on me for my parents. I didn't know what to say to her, so I decided to just stop everything, take a break, and think about everything for a while. I was horrified by the fact that my girlfriend of so many years had been spying on me for my parents. I was feeling everything all at once: betrayed, hurt, angry, and sad. But then I thought about it and decided that I wasn't going to let these people get the better of me and run away. I was going to make life hell for them, so I turned back around and started driving back toward the hotel because I had a plan in mind. When I returned to the hotel room, she seemed genuinely happy to see me, but I knew the truth and had to do my best to pretend everything was normal. I was repulsed by her, but still acted as though I was fine. I told her that the reason I had been gone for so long without an explanation was that I was planning something for her and that I had just freaked out for a bit in the middle of it, so I needed to take some time out to calm down. She seemed confused until I went down on one knee and told her that I wasn't freaked out anymore and that the thought of spending the rest of my life with her helped me make sense of things. I knew I was doing the right thing. She was really happy and accepted instantly, which made me think how insane it was that while she was stabbing me in the back all along, she was still more than happy to get married to me after that. After that, I told her I wanted to reconnect with my parents to share the news of our engagement since I'd had enough of our feud. I told her I didn't want to get married without my family present, so I thought it was in all our best interests to just bury the hatchet and see how she would react. She seemed a little put off by what I said, but recovered within seconds and told me she believed it was a great idea. She encouraged me to make amends with them as soon as I could. So, I texted my parents right after we got engaged. While she spoke to her family and told them about us, they didn't reply for a day, but the next day of our getaway, I received a text from my father saying he was happy that I had chosen to apologize to them and make things right, and that they would love to be a part of my life once again. Once that was done, I started making arrangements for the engagement party right away. I told my girlfriend that I would plan it all myself because I wanted it to be a surprise for her and to ensure she didn't interfere with anything. One of my friends, an event planner, and I got him involved. I hosted the party at my house and invited everybody my girlfriend and I knew, including her family and her friends. It was a lot of hard work, but I managed to keep everything a secret from her until the very last moment, and I definitely took her and my family by surprise. On the day of the party, once all our guests had arrived, I decided to make a speech and toast to our relationship. I thanked her and my family for everything they had done for me at first, and then I went on to the big reveal. I told everybody that I knew what they had been up to for the last couple of months, and made sure to make the speech as humiliating as possible. I called my girlfriend a sellout and insulted my parents with even worse names. I reserved the best insults for my brother, who I believed was the root cause of all this. I told him that even though he had access to all my business ideas, it was sad because not even his own parents had faith in him. In spite of being the golden child, it really got him nowhere since he still had to rely on me to become successful. I told them all they were pathetic and wanted to ensure everyone in our lives was aware of it. The party took place a week after I discovered my girlfriend's arrangement with my family, so I had sufficient time to set everything up. I also obtained screenshots of my girlfriend's text conversations with my father from her phone, which was easy since I knew her password. I sneaked in her phone while she was asleep and deleted all the proof I had. I made booklets out of those screenshots and distributed them to each guest individually after the speech to prove how spineless and psychotic everyone involved was. All our guests were stunned, but nobody was more shocked than my family and my girlfriend. She actually left the room crying and refused to come out until everyone was gone. Everybody pretty much cleared out after the distribution of the booklets, but my family stayed and tried to fight me. I wasn't having any of it and told them that if they didn't clear the premises, I would call the cops and make things uglier than necessary. It would be better for them if they left, and then they went away. They were probably afraid that if this turned even uglier, it would be hard to save face among their relatives who had heard everything, and this would definitely become the talk of the town in the next couple of days. So, they didn't want any more trouble. I didn't hear from my parents after that, but I did have to talk to my girlfriend that very night. She left after the party and moved back in with her parents, but not before she tore into me. She told me I was a horrible human being for putting her through that. She said the only reason she was doing it was because she needed money to fund her little sister's education, as she was about to start med school a couple of months after graduating. Her sister was still in high school, so that checked out. But I asked her why didn't she just ask for the money for me, and she told me she was too proud to do it. When my father offered to give her money in exchange for information on my business and other dealings, she didn't think it through and just accepted it. Apparently, my father had told her he wanted to know about this because he wanted to help me with the business, but since I wouldn't speak to him, he had no other way and had to resort to these tactics. It didn't even occur to her that he might be using all that information to help my brother instead, even though she knew about the problems we had been having. She admitted she had been very stupid not to think this through, but then she turned it around and told me that while what she had done was horrible, what I did was nothing short of psychotic. She finally figured out that I'd known about what she was up to since the day of our proposal, and told me that I should have just broken up with her that day instead of coming back after driving away just to screw with her and my parents and humiliate them in front of so many people. It was already a given that we were no longer going to be together anymore, but before she left, she told me she was glad I'd shown her my true colors because she was about to tell my father she couldn't spy on me anymore and that she was going to call it off after our engagement. That was the last conversation we had before she left. Since the night of our engagement party, I haven't spoken to anybody and haven't done anything apart from just going to work and coming back home. I thought that the party and humiliating them would make me feel better about everything, but it really doesn't. I feel like she did have a point about me coming off worse in this scenario, because what I did was actually pretty psychotic, and I feel bad about it. So, for throwing my girlfriend a party just to humiliate her. Update 1. Hey guys, this is going to be a short update, but it's been 2 weeks since my ex and I broke up. Today, she came back to grab a couple of things she had left behind. We didn't talk to each other at all during this time. She just pretended I wasn't even there, which was hurtful but well-deserved. She did something incredibly insane and gave me trust issues for life. I humiliated her in front of all her friends and her parents, so I guess it's fine now because we can just call it even. It's still going to hurt for a while, but I don't think I can do anything to help it now. I don't owe her an apology, that's for sure. Thank you for all the help and advice, you guys. I guess it worked because at least I feel better about myself now. As for my parents, they still haven't talked to me, and I feel like it's for the best. They already have all my business plans and ideas, which sucks, but there's not much I can do to help the situation now that the damage is done. The most I can hope for is that my brother does the decent thing and doesn't utilize any of it, which seems unlikely because he is human garbage. Also, after the way I humiliated him at my party, I don't think he's going to want to hold back, so things are looking pretty bleak for me right now on the business front at least. But I hope that I get through it somehow. Update 2. Hi everybody, it's been almost a month since the last update, and I finally embarked on a new business journey today. I know it takes time to set up a new business, but I'm already really excited to finally work and do something that I truly enjoy. All the planning and hard work I put into this has finally come to fruition, which also means I have something to take my mind off my ex. I know she did me dirty, but that doesn't mean I can't still miss her during the good times we had. I'm in therapy right now, trying to work through all the trauma and process my feelings about everything in general. It's kind of difficult, but now that I have my job to look forward to, I feel like things are going to start looking up for me. Still no news about my brother or what he's up to, but if I manage to establish my business before him, that means I have a head start and I need to make the most of it. So, my fingers are crossed. Update 3. I recently learned that my family is moving away because my brother is going to establish his business in a different state altogether. He doesn't want to be rivals anymore. I heard this right from the source because he told me all about it in a really long email and made sure to mention that he was sorry I wasn't mentally stable enough to deal with my emotions like any normal rational adult. He thought it was okay to throw parties and humiliate people just because I was bad at confrontation and wanted to be the center of attention for once, even though I had no qualities to justify it. But he wished the best for me and hoped that I would stay away from him and our parents. Now, it's been almost 3 months since the night of the engagement party, and I think I'm finally beginning to deal with it and process everything a lot better than I was back then, which is great. I also heard that my girlfriend was finally going out on dates with other people and was out and about like usual, so I guess everybody's moving on and so am I. My business is doing all right, and with time, I'll be fine again.